Good afternoon, crafters. We are live in our Facebook group, and this afternoon is going to be a live demonstration all about the scan and cut, and also our brand new Carnation blue. I've already got it wrong. Carnation Christmas USB. I was focusing so much on everything I need to remember to tell you. So, as with all of these lives, what we'll do is we'll give it a few minutes just so everyone who would like to join us live can do so. I've got all sorts of strange things popping up on my screen, but please do let me know that you can see and hear us okay, what you're up to, what you're looking forward to, and if you've got any questions along the way, I will do my best to answer them as we go. So the Carnation Christmas USB, it launched not yesterday, the day before, on Create and Craft. Nice and early start. It was 7:30 in the morning with myself and Dean. And I think it's really important to do these sort of follow-up Facebook Lives, if you like, because it gives us a little bit more of an opportunity to go in depth on some of the other techniques that are available from crafting with USBs and SVG files. But also, if there's any questions, we can try and answer them as we go. So I can see lots of people joining us already. Ian's here. Hi, Ian. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. So yeah, it really is your opportunity to ask those questions that you may have. I know there's a few questions been flying around, so hopefully we'll be able to address most of those. Christmas USB. Now this is fab. So the Christmas USB, if you haven't seen it yet, it contains 34 SVG designs from both the Christmas Eve collection and the Christmas Time collection. Now what's really key to know, and we did do this in the show preview and I'm happy to repeat it again, these are designed to work alongside your electronic cutting machines that can read an SVG file, okay? That is what is key about these USBs. So yes, we do have a Christmas Eve and Christmas Time as a die set. The vignettes for your die sets are already available for you online, size to match your dies, okay? So you'd find them at carnationcrafts.co.uk. Your free downloads essentially for your SVG files are contained within the USB. So when you plug your USB into your PC, you will find 3 files as your initial file. So you've got first up backing papers. That contains the 180 backing papers that are all of a festive theme or a wintry theme if you like, but for use with the different designs within the folders. Next up is your folder called SVGs and Vignettes, and as the name would suggest, that is where you find your cutting files, your SVGs, and that is where you will find the vignette artwork that coordinates specifically with the SVG files, okay? Reason being, is it's designed to match with the SVG, so you have your lines around it to match up and the artwork. But also it is size to match because the SVG files are a certain size. It will not match your dies, okay? So just to make you aware, you'll also have on that initial sort of plug into your computer what we call our leaflet, our overview, if you like, of all the files on that. So you can absolutely go into that, print that off, and it gives you your guide, if you like, your library of the different files involved on the USB. Hopefully that clears up any questions as to what the USB does and what it's used for. Now I've got lots of people joining again, thank you. So Christine's here, Valerie's here as well. So as I say, just keep posting up your questions as we go and we will hopefully answer most of those. We'll go over the basics on how to print, load, scan and cut. And we're going to go into a little bit more of an in-depth demo about welding as well, because you can really start to make these creations your own, make them unique to how you want to design them. And we're just going to have a little chat and a little play along the way as well. So first things first, what we need to do is plug our USB into our computer, our home PC, to print out the artwork we want to be using with. So that could be your backing papers if you want to print those out ready, but it's also your vignette files, your artwork files that work alongside the SVG files. Now, whenever you're printing, what we do recommend is pro printing paper because it gives a nice vibrancy of not only the detail but also the colours included within the designs, and it also saves on your ink as well. So pro printing paper, I will be using 220 GSM for my demonstrations with the scan and cut because it's just the paper weight I prefer working with. If you want something lighter, there is 170 and also 120 available too. A couple of people saying, good, I was going to ask about welding. Great, I'm glad we're going to cover that off for you guys as well. With all of these Facebook Live demos that we do, we always upload them to group afterwards as well. So it becomes like a reference point for you guys. So if you click whilst you're on a computer, at the top of the group, you will see a little tab that's called Media. If you click on that, you can then search by video and it will bring up all the videos in group. Now we do title all the videos so you don't have to watch them all to find out what they're involved with, and you can easily reference through there. Now a lot of people are struggling to find the videos. I can only apologise, Facebook does change things at the drop of a hat and we just have to try and keep up with that. So that covers off that. What else do I have to tell you? I'm sure there's lots I have to tell you and I'm sure it will come to me as we go through the demonstration. But as I keep saying, if you do have any questions, by all means, do type them up. Stacey's here. Hello, this is the first time I've said hi on a live. Love this USB. Thank you, Stacey. It's lovely to have your company as well. It's always nice when people interact and say hi and, you know, I know there's people out there. Oh, look what I'm doing already. Just anything I want, basically. It's all going wrong. Never mind. Okay, so first things first, we plug our USB into our home PC or directly into our printer. We choose the file we want to be working with and we print out the artwork. The artwork will print like so. So this is Cozy Christmas. This is our little sleeping puppy and the bows as well. Have I got that upside down? Yes. Yes, I know you have. So bows on the top, puppies on the bottom. And you'll see on this particular one and with all of them, whenever it's a speed cut, like this one is, it will have more artwork on it. That is because it basically relies on, when it comes to the scan and cut and other SVG reading cutting machines, you are limited by how many cutting lines you can have in one file. So these, on a speed cut, you can get more speed cut on because obviously it's just the outer line, okay? So the speed cut is indicated just here on the artwork, so the letters SC. So if you print out a load and then you're not sure whether you're using a speed cut or a detailed cut, it will always say in the top corner. So speed cut means it's going to cut, as the name says, quickly, and it cuts just the outside of the file design. Included within the files is what we also call a detailed cut. That will cut not only the outside but also the internal lines as well. So if you wanted, for instance, to draw the file first, taking advantage of the scan and cut capabilities, you would choose your detailed cut, you would draw or foil or emboss, and then after that you can use the speed cut just to cut around the outside. Or if you prefer your designs with more detailed lines in them, you can absolutely use the detailed cut. Now, just to show you what the difference is, these are our post boxes, like so. Now, it's difficult to see on camera, but I will really zoom in. You see how the ER on the front of that post box has got light behind it? That is because you are cutting on a detail cut. It will cut out all the details on that particular design. Difference being with a speed cut that cuts just the outline, it looks like so. So that's a really nice opportunity to show you the detailed difference between detail cut with all the cutting lines, like so, and speed cut as well. Okay, hopefully that makes a little bit more sense. I've got a couple of questions coming in, so let me just scroll back if you would mind bearing with me. Where is it? This is where it all falls apart when I'm trying to read and answer at the same time. Phil and Sue say, hi, can you show how to resize on the scan and cut if you have printed out a smaller print size? Yes, Sue, we will absolutely go over that as well. Also, what's really key to know, and I probably should have mentioned this at the start of the live, is if you hop onto carnationcrafts.co.uk/inspiration, you will find all of the guides, the step-by-step guides that you can either print out and reference or refer to, both to printing and cutting, not only on your USBs, but also on your vignettes for dies as well. There's step-by-step instructions and step-by-step photos there to guide you through the process. It's actually, when it comes to these things, I think people get a little bit intimidated and they think, you know, it's a machine, it's doing its thing, it's big and it's loud and all this sort of thing. It's not a worry. It is super, super easy to do. Just take your time, go through the steps, follow the steps off, tick them off if you like as you go. And I can assure you, you will find it super fun to do. Okay, so right, let us go. So I've plugged, so we're going to pretend we printed out our file like so, and we are then going to find that file on our USB. Now I've already lost my stick, there it is, my pointy stick. I'm going to turn you guys around so you can see the screen I am looking at. Hopefully it is nice and clear. Obviously forgive the camera work, I am not a very good camera person when it comes to these things. So we are working on the SDX, but essentially while the screens may look a little bit different and the icons might be in a different place, it's essentially the same whether you're working on SDX models or your CM range as well. So to access the USB, we go into Retrieve Data and we choose our USB icon, okay? You then have your two folders, Papers and SVG and Vignettes. Your Papers refers to your backing papers. That is a folder you would use on your PC to print your papers. We're going to be using SVGs. So we click on our folder and it comes up with all of the folders included within the USB, okay? All of them in alphabetical order, so it makes it super easy to find things. And all we need to do is click on the one we want to use. So we've printed out Cozy Christmas. If we click on Cozy Christmas, it will come up with these three files. So detailed cut, remember we showed you with the post box there, the external and internal lines are cut on detailed cut. We have mats, which obviously as the name would suggest are your mats and layers, and also your speed cut as well, which is fabulous. I'm just gonna have a quick check if we've got any I've got all things like red dots popping up on my screen. I have no idea what that means. Any questions as we go? I'll try and take it slow so it's the sort of thing you can do in real time if you are following along. So as we have printed out the speed cut, we are going to click on the speed cut file. The computer will have a little think about it and it will bring up an image of the outlines of the SVG you're going to be using. Now this is great because it acts as an extra little check of what we're going to be using. So we know we've got our little doggies down here and our bows up here. When we're happy, we say OK. And those images will then drop down onto our workspace. And you'll see from the workspace design, it is designed exactly to replicate the design that is on your mat with the squares and the arrow pointing in and everything like that. Before we do anything else, what you must do to use this file in its entirety is click on Edit, this little button here, to then select everything on our mat. And you see now how each one of those files has got a red box around it. That is because each of those files is an individual file. So if you were only wanting to cut out one, or perhaps you've resized it so it's one big one and you want to change the size of it, you would delete all your other patterns and be left with one that you could then resize if you've made it a big bow or a big dog, for example, on your mat. As we are just doing a straight cut from the actual size, so we've printed at actual size, we want to cut at actual size, we click OK, and then we go into Object Edit to tell the machine we want to group those images together. Okay, so we're looking for the little box with a circle in it and a triangle in it. That box there changes all those individual red boxes into one big outer rectangle box, which means we can now move the file in its entirety. Okay, if we tried to drag and drop whilst it was still with the red boxes around each individual one, if I clicked there, it would only move that little bow, and it would misalign that with the artwork that we're going to scan in. So hopefully that makes sense. If we click OK and OK, it then gets us to our work screen. Now you're going to have to forgive me because I'm working in my little room today rather than my big room, so I'm going to have to shift things around as we go. But this is where we come to then scan in our image to the machine to then line up the details over the top and cut. Now hopefully my mat is going to be sticky enough. I must admit I did omit to not re-sticking it before this demonstration, so apologies if it doesn't quite work, but hopefully it will give you enough of an overview to allow you guys at home to follow along fairly easily. Okay, oh see, this is where we all go wrong. Right, I'm going to move my scan and cut just forward. I'm going to move you guys for a second. Okay, like so. Now, move forward, scan and cut. You see, I'm really struggling with space in here. So we've loaded in our mat, and on the screen, what we need to do is scan in the mat using the mat feed button. Not the mat feed button, apologies, the scanning image, and then we go start. And the machine will take in our paper. Hopefully there's enough clearance at the back. Just, how's that about for luck? And it will come back through. Now, I might not be able to cut just because I really don't have enough room to do all of this, but you see how you have then got this beautiful high quality image in the background, and also then your SVG overlay, your cutting file overlay. Now we can absolutely go into edit and magnify that image 200, like so, even up to 400 times, okay? This then means when we come to drag and drop our SVG files over the top, we're getting complete precision over how we are aligning those, right? So the idea is you want to get the black rectangle that is all the way around the outside of your SVGs to line up exactly with the black rectangle that you've just scanned in around your images there as well. Now on the SDX, you can obviously drag and drop. So we just want to line those lines up, but you can also move the rectangle at millimeter increments, okay, using the top arrows here. If we just scroll down using the scroll buttons, we can check for alignment all the way down like so, and all the way across. Those puppies are so cute. You'll notice you've also got this little bit of bleed line around the image itself, just like you do with your dies. That bleed line assures you're going to get edge to edge color. Even if you do misplace your cutting a little bit, it won't matter, okay? So we click OK. Once we're happy with the position, we say OK, OK, and then we tell the machine we want to cut. It will give us a rough indicator. I'm not going to let it run for the full 4 minutes because I want you guys to be able to get through a few different techniques in this Facebook Live. And we click start. Now that's the auto blade just going. And it is just checking the depth of our paper. Again, I'm using 220 Pro printing paper. I knew it. Okay, so what's happened there is my mat isn't sticky enough. So we just press the pause button and we're going to say quick cutting and OK. It's not damaged anything at all. In fact, it's barely started cutting, so I can reuse this file. But as I suspected, having done lots and lots and lots of demo prep on this machine, I'm not going to be able to cut just simply because I need a stickier mat. So apologies, guys, on that. But hopefully that is going to have taken you through the process on how we cut. Let me pop you back so it's not quite, there we go, that's better. So apologies about that, but you can see if I show you where it's begun to cut like so, just here, it has started cutting the outline. Obviously I've just stopped it because the mat started shifting. So don't ever worry if that happens with you guys at home. All we need to do is just re-stick our mat, and to do that we can recommend using your pin flare stencil glue. You only need a tiny amount, okay? That's really key. I think I'm among many people who have accidentally used a little bit too much in the past and made my mat a little bit too sticky. So sorry about that, but obviously, you know, you'd let your machine do your cutting and it would cut out your files for you. Just checking if we've had any questions in. No, okay, hopefully that means we are covering everything as needed. Now, at this stage, you'd have your cuts out and you'd be able to stick them on your card and do whatever you like. However, the scan and cut will also do so much more than that, okay? Now, this is where we deviate from the normal show demos to then show you how we can start beginning to change up the files, right? So if we go into retrieve data, back into our USB, and into SVGs and vignettes, and let's, for example, take Cozy Christmas, because that's the one we've just been working with. And we want to work with, let's go detailed cut this time. So you see how in this file we've got 3 bows and 2 of the doggies, as opposed to the outline which filled the whole page. That is because you've got more cut lines within this file. We say okay, but actually perhaps we have printed our puppy a bigger size than the actual size. Okay, so we can just go in, edit, and scroll through our options and delete. So deleting them doesn't mean you're deleting them from the file. You are literally just deleting them from the mat, and you can literally choose whichever ones you want using the arrow keys and keep going through. Perhaps you want to change up the size of everything. So if you click select all, okay, back into object edit and tell everything to be grouped. Remember, it's exactly the same as we did earlier. Those extra red boxes disappear and now that image is as one, okay? To this point, we can then change the size. So at the moment, I've got my machine set to inches, but we can change it, no, we can't change it to millimetre, there, like so. And obviously we can go bigger. You see how that quickly flicked? It's because I have mine set to automatic mat size. So it's flicked up to the bigger mat. And we can just continue to size up. The machine will then beep once it's reached its biggest allowance, the area at which it's going to be able to cut to. So that's as big as it will go with the rectangle, with the extra bows. Obviously, if I took the rectangle away, the extra bows and the extra puppy, we can make that dog even bigger. Okay, again, just as a reminder, we do have full instructions on our our website under the inspiration page. Now, say we wanted to create a card blank. Okay, so a lot of you have commented on this particular one, which is our snowman and our post box. Obviously, this has been sized up, but Janine has created this bespoke card blank. Okay, again, another great way of using the files. Let's create that exact one. So we go down and we find, first off, growing into it, which is our snowman in his oversized top hat, and we select this time around the mats and layers. It will bring up 2 mats and layers, so you've got your bigger one for your card base and then your more smaller one that will create your toppers. We say okay. But because we're making a card blank and we're going to be adding elements to it to change the shape, we don't need the smaller mat. So we select it, edit and delete, okay, just as you've seen us do with Cozy Christmas and the doggies. That we can then move out of the way, click OK, and if we were creating the exact same card as Janine there, we want to add from our USB the post box. So we go back into SVG files, scroll through our alphabetical order files to find post box, and we click on the mats. Okay, again, you've got extra ones on here, so you've got the bigger one for your card blank, your smaller one for your topper, and the same again for the little robin with the letter in his mouth. We're going to say okay. The reason why we've dragged our little growing into it down to one side is because whenever it loads a new file to the mat, it's always going to load it in that top right. So this time around, we click on the post boxes we don't want and just select the little bin icon, bin and bin. Okay, now we have a post box and now we have a snowman. But we want to be able to align these. So if we go select everything on our mat, we can tell the machine in Object Edit to align these so they are aligned along the bottom. Okay, this little one here, wherever that line is in reference to the blocks, so the blocks, think of them as your files or your SVG cutting designs. The line is how you want it to align. So we're going to align it along the bottom, like so. And you see how the little snowman moved down? I just click back, you can see it move back up. We want to align it along the bottom because we're creating a card blank. We want a nice even base that's going to form when we're making either a 10 card or a side fold card. It's going to align like so. We click OK, and we tell the machine to unselect everything on our mat. Okay, we're not changing any sizes, we're not changing any movement of these at the moment. Now we have just got the postbox highlighted. We want to shimmy that across, move that across using our move tool. We're not dragging and dropping because that would be, I say inaccurate, you can do it accurately, but we don't want to misalign that bottom that we've just done. So using the arrow tools, we shift the postbox along, again in millimetre increments, just so it begins to overlap our growing into it snowman outline. Now it depends on how far you want it to overlap. If you want the snowman quite far over the postbox and the postbox in the background, you can have a nice area of overlap like so. Once again, you can magnify that if that is easier as well. Hopefully this is making sense. We click OK and OK. And as you've seen before, we click everything on our mat and we tell the machine to group them. I'm sorry, no we don't. We ungroup. We tell the machine to weld. I'm skipping ahead some steps there. Apologies. So we've selected everything on our mat and we tell the machine to weld. It will then show you a preview of this new card blank that you've created. Again, you can magnify it to check. You see those? It's now joined, essentially, these two files together. We say OK, and we tell the machine, yes, that's what we'd like to do, and we click OK. At this stage, what we would do, you can size it, of course, if you wanted to, if you're creating a bigger file like Janina has done. But always, if you're creating a card blank like this, cut, there's so many words to remember, cut that file out. So you've got a nice, neat outline to begin your card design, okay? You could, if you wanted, cut it twice and have a front and a back of your card. What you could also do is then weld it again. So if you've cut it once and you want to then create basically a 10-fold card, cut it once to get your outline, and then we want to create the card base. So we say to the machine, can you please add another one onto the mat? So now we've got two. One is going to be the front of the card, one is going to be the back. I always find it easy to work these in a way that makes sense. Rather than trying to rotate them or anything like that, I'll use them on my workspace in a way that makes sense to me logically. So we're taking our front of a card here and we're moving that down. The top one is going to be the back of our card. Now to make this work as a card blank, we want to flip like so. So now the post box is on the other side, but we also need to rotate. So we click this button here and rotate it around. Now, do you see how that is going to create a front of your card and a back of your card? So remember, we've cut that one first, so it's going to hide any joins and things. Now we're making card blank. So we say OK and OK. Once again, we want to select everything on the mat. So this is just a way of making everything neat and tidy. We're going to object edit and we're going to align them. But we are going to line them along the axis here. So we're going to align them centrally. When we click that, you see how they shift slightly? I'll go back a step so you can see that again. Align them centrally and they shift. So now this one at the bottom is perfectly aligned with that one at the top. We say OK and tell the machine we want to unselect everything like so. And OK. Now what we can always do, perhaps we've got a little bit more room on our mat. We want to move one of them away so you haven't got quite as much of an overlap on the post box. Like so. That overlap there is going to create what is essentially your fold for your card blank. So we say OK and tell the machine once again, please select everything on your mat. Once we've finished adjusting, remember we're not dragging and dropping, we're just using the arrow keys because we don't want to mess up our alignment we've just done. We say OK, object edit, we want to again weld. It will again give you a preview. Remember that central line through the center here is going to be where your fold is for your card. we click OK and OK. Then we would cut that base as well. Once cut, it's then going to give you your outside of your card shape. So you've welded the two shapes together. You've then welded a front and a back along the top, and it's going to give you your bespoke card base. As we've said, like Janine has done, you can absolutely do it in this version, which is cut two of your first welded shape, score along the back, and stick them together. If you did want more of a technical finish, if you like, there's nothing wrong with either way. Personally, with me, I do tend to cut them twice and score, just because it's a little bit quicker. You can do that too. I wanted to show you the full demo of creating the top fold card blank as well, just because it gives you a little bit more of an insight on how the machine works. Does anyone have any questions at this stage? Do you want me to show you that again? Because I can do, just by clicking home. Do let me know. I can't see any questions coming in, which could be good, because it could mean I've covered it off, or it could mean my comments are broken again, which often happens in these Facebook Lives. Any questions, guys, whilst we're still looking at the USB? No. Let's just cover off doing your resize again. Into your USB, SVGs. Let's use going into it because it's a nice example of an SVG file. Okay, so this is your outline, this is your speed cut. Remember, it's the first one we looked at, but we're going to delete off some of those patterns. So we're going to edit, and using our tool, we're able to go through and delete as we wish. So we can delete 1, we can delete 2. Remember, deleting things isn't going to change anything from your USB itself. It is simply deleting them off the workspace that you're using at the moment. At this stage, we've still got our rectangle, we've still got our little speed cut version of our growing into it. I'm going to leave the rectangle in place just because it does make lining things up easier. But again, remember, we would go in, select everything on our mat and tell the machine to group. From here, we can then object edit and size. And we can size up like so. Now remember, you're only constricted to how much you're able to size on your printer. So in your printer, what you would do when you've plugged your USB into your computer or directly into your printer, depending on what kind of printer you have, you would click on custom settings, and you can use the % tool to enter, I don't know, 150% to make it half as big again. You can play around with that little tool within there. Again, as I keep saying, there are instructions on our website on the inspiration page to follow. A couple of people just asking about how we resize pics. Hopefully we're just going through that at the minute, so hopefully this is making sense. I don't know whether my comments are just slightly delayed. So you've plugged your USB into your computer or directly into your printer, and you're using the custom tool when it comes to print. So remember how whenever we're doing dies, we always say make sure you're printing either at actual size or 100%. That is because you can't size dies, okay? The reason why we say print at actual size or 100% when it comes to your dies is so your dies fit the image. Because you're working with SVGs, obviously you are able to size these SVGs. So you would go into your printer settings. Rather than choosing actual size, you can click what is called custom and then put in a percentage, and you'll see on your print preview the size of the image changing. Okay, so you can just change up and down as much as you like. When it comes to then making sure this fits your image you have printed out, you can either measure the rectangle that is all the way around on your design, because remember, once you've grouped it, it's this rectangle that's showing us the size. So you can measure your rectangle and it will be able to size. If you've done away with your rectangle and you're going a little bit rogue and you're literally sizing just your image, you can use the magnifying tools to check how far off you are from lining things up. Remember, you have got the bleed line around the edge of the vignette to make things easy as well. Hopefully that is making some sense. I can't see any other questions coming in regarding that. A couple of people saying, oh, we've missed the beginning. It's not a problem. We always upload our Facebook Lives to our page afterwards for people to watch back at any time at their leisure. I'm going to flip the camera around